So when producing cannabis to be efficient, grow rooms may be divided into different areas. Some basic rooms would be a clone room, a mother room, a vegetative room, a flower room, and a dry and cure room. So here's just some of the basics. I'm going to go over just an overview of what each of these rooms may entail. So starting common to all of these rooms should be cleanliness, good air circulation, and monitoring systems. Ways to control different aspects and environments within the room, and ways to check to make sure everything's working and functioning properly. The check protocols is a great way to hopefully notice that something's going awry very early so it doesn't damage the crop permanently. Rooms may not always be physically separate, so some operations, and this is typically the smaller ones, will have dual purpose rooms. This can reduce the efficiencies and possibly cause contamination and spread of disease quicker when you have these dual functional rooms, and that's where cleanliness is even more important. Older plants with younger plants, again, those older plants may be sick or can carry diseases, potential insects, and it could infect the younger plants. Also, lighting intensities may need to be adjusted. Older plants may not be getting enough light, while younger plants could be getting too much light. So it's kind of rarely that one room kind of fits all and does everything. This is why typically there's sections put into rooms and partitions to allow them each to be treated slightly differently to maximize production. The clone room, so this is also referred to as a propagation room. Seeds can be started or clones can be rooted. Typically this room will have higher humidity than the others. Overall, there's less intense light required because you don't want to burn the tender foliage, and this needs frequent monitoring, especially if you're looking at clone operations, to make sure pH is kept well, make sure you're getting roots on your clones here, make sure your seedlings are started, because this is where you're kind of starting those plants, that very critical part of the entire process. So this is often one that can be a little smaller because the plants, of course, are smaller, but needs to have very careful monitoring. So here we're looking at the mother or stock plant room, and this is where the mother or stock plants are kept. These are typically fewer but larger plants, and we want these plants to remain in the vegetative state, so keep in mind it's giving them 16 plus hours of continuous light. Some growers may even choose to run 24 hours. This is often where rare and unique genetics may be kept, so monitoring this area is important. Security is a high priority. Unique individuals, to have the picture of the albino here, is found. That goal is to clone that plant to produce many of those desired copies of that offspring. As a result, I have this picture here because growers may want to choose to prune them a little bit differently. Want to increase the branching to increase the availability of clones that can be used for propagation. Now the vegetative room, this is where plants are focused on growing leaves. Again, I'm not looking at flowers here. Keeping that 16 plus hours of continuous light is important for the entire crop. Otherwise, if you cut that down below that, you run the risk of your entire room going into flower prematurely. Some growers, again, run even this area in 24 hours of light, but this often leads to wasted light and diminishing returns on investment because of the increased cost associated with running those lights. Keep the plants well fed, as this is a very important stage for development. I want to make sure those plants are not stressed at all and able to produce as many leaves as possible. Here you can see this kind of purple hue to these leaves, and that's because there's an LED light with that heavy purple spectrum running in this area of the vegetative room. The flower room, here the photoperiod should be adjusted to 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness. While this is commonly referred to as the money room, setting up your plants well in the vegetative room is important for their success during this stressful flowering stage. So I know these have kind of that yellow look to them, because they're running high pressure sodium lights. This is, again, often referred to as the money room, even though really setting those plants up in the vegetative room is very important to allow them to perform well when they go into the flowering room or the flowering stage of development. Lastly, the dry and cure room. This is the last stage of the process, and controlled and consistent conditions are very important. You don't want to lose your harvest this late in the season, this late in the game, as you have the maximum amount of investment in your crop. Keeping the lights as minimum as possible and control over humidity are very important. You don't want to have mold that increase. You want to be sure that you're able to dry them efficiently and effectively so you get the maximum return on your investment.